is gavelled into session. Welcome. Big crowd. And some folks online. So I'll just start off by saying, forgive me right off the bat, because this is my first physical meeting since 2020. So I'm just getting used to seeing humans again and connecting. So I'm very much looking forward to it. First order of business is the filling of vacancies on the board. And we have one vacancy each in the following sub-districts: Sub-District 2, 7, 8, 11, and 14. That's a lot. We're a 17-member board. And in order for us to carry things forward, we have to have 9 aye votes on anything that we're looking to accomplish. So the more people that we have on the neighborhood board, the better. Is it possible in the next set of minutes that we can actually list the location? Sub-District 7, 2, 8, 11, and 14. So when I announce that, I can actually also say the location. So if anybody's listening in, they can kind of get a feel. Is there anyone interested online or in person that's interested in serving in any of those sub-districts? The waving of the fan constitutes volunteering? No? Okay. Yes. I think you're already on. You can just speak right to it.
Can you hear me, Mo? Yeah, I was wondering, can we serve in 2 districts?
No, only in the district in which you reside.
Sure, okay, thank you.
All right, hearing none from online and none in person, we'll move on to our next order of business, which is the city and state monthly reports. First up, Honolulu Fire Department.
Good evening. My name is Jacob Char with the Kaneohe Fire Station. Just going to go down my stats list. Statistics provided below represent confirmed number of incidents in the neighborhood board's geographical area for the previous month. Should you have any questions, please email the HFD's Community Relations Office at hfdnhb@honolulu.gov. That's hfdnhb@honolulu.gov. All right, information previously requested, there was none. Incident statistics for August 2023. Under our fires category, structures 0, wildland and brush 0, nuisance 3. Nuisance fires include rubbish fires outside a structure or vehicle. Cooking 2, activated alarms with no fire 5. Under our emergencies category, medicals we had 132. Motor vehicle collisions with pedestrian we had 1. Motor vehicle crash or collision we had 7. Mountain rescues we had 1. Ocean rescues and hazardous materials incidents we had 0 for both. And then our fire safety tip: evacuation planning. In the event of an emergency, be prepared with an evacuation plan. Create your plan with all members of your household and your family. Keep in mind those with limited abilities, children, elderly, and pets. Identify possible exits and escape routes. Predetermine a safe meeting place. Always choose the escape route that is safest. Think about scenarios and strategies, how to use them. Review and practice the plan often. Assemble an emergency supply kit. Remember to pack important documents, medicines, and necessary pet items. Remember to stay calm, stay informed, and stay alert. If you want any more information, you can always visit fire.honolulu.gov. Again, that's fire.honolulu.gov. And there's a bunch of safety information on there. And again, any questions? hfdnhb@honolulu.gov. And that's it.
Any questions for the Honolulu Fire Department? Mr. Sakamoto.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the report from the fire department. At last month's meeting, August 17th, there was a question regarding mountain rescue from Auntie Rocky. And you're supposed to get back to us at this meeting. Did you get a location where this rescue was?
I
She was
don't,
requesting.
as of right now, we didn't have any information from last meeting, but if you can either restate the question and then I'll get back to you, or you can send an email to hfdnhb@honolulu.gov. That'll probably be the quickest, most direct route. If you go through myself I'm gonna have to turn it over to our CRO, and it's gonna go a few extra steps rather than just going through HFD NHB at honolulu.gov. But like I said,
I would,
report, we don't have anything. any
I would,
information.
I would prefer that we go through the extra steps, just because it exercises the way the neighborhood board operates when we ask a question, and it goes up through the chain and it comes back down. So the question is, last month there was a rescue, a mountain rescue, and the question by Auntie Rocky was, where did that take place?
Okay,
And if you could simply just ask that question and get back to me, I'll be able to disseminate the information to the board.
okay, so I got, for the month of August, one mountain rescue, where did it take place?
Correct. Mr. Sakamoto, did that answer your question?
Yes, Chair, thank you for bringing that up and having the information forward to you so we can disseminate later. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Honolulu Fire Department? Dr. Sevier.
Thank you. We had a report of a rescue this month of a dog falling off the stairway to heaven, and it was reported as such. Internationally, dog falls off stairway. It was later reported a couple of days ago that the dog was nowhere near the stairway to heaven. The dog was, and the couple were located using cell phone coordinates. Can you use the cell phone coordinates to report where the rescue is rather than picking a trail?
That's part of the process of we use to locate, we triangulate with cell phone signal. It usually brings up a lat long geographic location. It's not always accurate, especially if you're on a weird terrain like that. But it's part of the one of the ways that we use to locate rescue patients or victims.
I suppose my question is, to whom do you report these rescues such that the news picks up on it as a rescue from one trail when it's actually a rescue from a separate trail?
Oh, well, our PIO usually puts it out on reports. And then our radio communications are usually open to the public. So anybody who can get into that signal can listen to what's going on. So I'm sure the news can listen to it, whoever else.
Thank you. Any other questions for Honolulu Fire Department? Hearing none, thanks very much for your report. We'll see you next month. Next up, Honolulu Police Department.
Good evening. I'm Officer Jared Atkins with the District 4 Community Policing Team. We're giving the crime stats for Kaneohe. For the month of August, there were 6 motor vehicle thefts versus 6 the previous month. There was 1 burglary in August versus 5 the previous month. There were 19 thefts in August versus 17 the previous month. There were 5 UEMVs or car break-ins in August versus 7 the previous month. There were 0 robberies in August versus 2 the previous month. And I can take any questions or concerns.
Hold off on the questions and concerns. Did you want to add?
Yes, thanks. Thanks, Jared. So I just want to introduce myself. Aloha, good evening, everyone. My name is Major Bert Surya, District 4 Commander of the windward side of the island, which encompasses from Makapu'u Point all the way up to Kahuku Point, in charge of all 3 stations, the Kailua Station, the Kaneohe Police Station, and also the Kahuku Station. And just want to let everyone know that I am available. If you want to set up any type of meet and greet, my office is at the Kaneohe Police Station. Set up a meeting, and we'll do a meet and greet at the station. So, and I'll take any questions anyone has.
All right. Any questions for the Honolulu Police Department? I see one hand, Mr. Sakamoto.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for coming, Major and the officer. Just want kudos for the report I have received for the H3 for the month of August. All the citations for speeding and everything. Wonderful job that District 4 is doing. Concerning the crime mapping, I brought this up in May. And I've been working with somebody at the main office at Honolulu Police Department to make the crime mapping accessible for persons who are disabled or blind. So I'm looking forward to having that accessible, but kudos for what you folks do. I just want to welcome you aboard, Major, and thank you for all you folks, the men and women of the Blue. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Downing, yes, Cecil.
Yes,
And if you wouldn't mind, put that microphone, turn it this way so yes.
is that better? Okay, there we go. I want to echo Donald Sakamoto's comments. Appreciate you and the other officer coming down here. I appreciate everything you guys do for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, kudos for the Honolulu Police Department. I have a question for last month's meeting. There was discussion about ticketing of cars in Haiku. Did that start?
No. So to address that situation, our officers will be doing their normal duties. That area is assigned a beat, which is assigned an officer, and they do their normal duties of going around and seeing any type of egregious type of parking violations, which is front of fire hydrants or blocking driveways, but they mainly respond to calls of service. So there won't be any type of special enforcement other than their normal duties that the officers go around during their checks.
Have the officers been advised that the driveways of some of those properties are very short? And because people have lived in their houses for so long, sometimes the garages get filled with stuff and people can't put their vehicles in the garage, but they park on the driveway. That's not egregious. That'd be okay.
I can't say it's okay, but although it is in violation, we do respond if there's a complaint. But our officers use their discretion. They normally find who the owner of the vehicle is and ask them to move the vehicle if it's in violation.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Any other questions for the HPD? Nothing there? And nothing here. What, Mr. Downing?
It's kind of unrelated, but are you folks catching up on your manning? It's my understanding you've been short-staffed for a long time. Is HPD catching up on that or not?
Good question. We do have, I believe, 3 classes going at a time. So although the numbers are small, we are getting the recruits that are being hired and are being filled to fill up our beats when they graduate.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much. See you next month. Oh, is there, I try and gatekeep, so if you can let me know if we have questions, like, go ahead, Laura.
Okay. Have you seen an increase in homeless people?
That's a good question. I'll turn it over to my lieutenant who has more information on that. He's one of our field lieutenants, Lieutenant Sanford.
Good evening. Not more than normal, I would say, would be the response. So a lot of times the homeless, if they move into the area, some of them will stay out of view. So unless we get called for a specific complaint, we don't know. It might be in the bushes or so forth. But Kaneohe, as well as every part of the island, has their regular residentially challenged people. But again, not anything more than ordinary.
Any other questions for HPD? All right, thanks very much.
Enforcement always is occurring on the H3, whether it's from our district or from the traffic division. So the complaints usually occur late at night or the early morning. So that's when the racers come from the other side of the island over to H3, race on our side, turn around and go back. enforcement does occur, but the larger complaint and the more dangerous occurrence are those people racing. It's all hours, every day of the week, not only the weekends. Used to be only the weekends. Sometimes we don't get them for a week. Sometimes it'll be 3 or 4 nights a week. Oh, that was many years ago. Possibly. But again, to address the complaint, the traffic division started night bikes. So the night solo bikes started doing enforcement around the island to combat the racing.
I'd recommend getting in touch with the legislators on that side that deal with Kalealoa, former Barber's Point. That's where the track is. And that might be something that they're interested in doing, or maybe it's not. But they would be the ones to, I don't think it would come from the police department. What was your name? Mack. Yeah, we needed that for the minutes. Thank you. Any other HPD? Oh, by the ways. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Next is there a representative from Marine Corps Base Hawaii? Well, I would just like to say for the record that the Kaneohe Neighborhood Board was definitely saddened by what happened in Australia, the loss of 3 airmen, and kind of brings home one of the reasons we have folks in our backyard training and taking care of our country and abroad, and these sort of things that happen. And we definitely feel for you and your families, and our hearts go out to you. So mahalo for your service again. Next, is there anybody from the Department of Transportation? All right. Is there anyone from the Sierra Club to brief? Anybody online that wanted to brief the governor's emergency proclamation? I didn't hear from anybody since the agenda went out, so I don't know if it's going to happen or not. I think that was a ship that righted itself. Anybody online? Hearing none, moving to the next order of business, resident and community concerns. The first one was Kaneohe Circle and private access. There was some photographs of what looks like somebody erecting their own signs to restrict access to the bay. Was there anyone here that wanted to speak to that?
Mo, maybe I can address that. I live in Kaneohe Circle. Within each of the deeds on the property, there is private access to the bay in Kaneohe Circle proper. So the sign was put up by who we do not know, and or if it was the city and county, they have not acknowledged that. Someone then put a subsequent sign underneath that says, this is not legal, when in fact it is. It is part of the deeds of the holders of the land, owners in Kaneohe Circle, and that is officially on record.
Are you sure that that's a legal access point?
Yes, it is. It is designated as an easement.
As an easement easement for the city or easement for the private property owner?
Easement for the private property owner, sir.
So that's not a authorized access point.
I would defer that to the city and county. When I investigated, it did reside on each of the deeds within Kaneohe Circle that they had private access to the water. That's how it was stated on the deeds.
Laura?
But there is I know of one public access where it's not somebody's driveway, it's not a part of somebody's property. And there has to be so many public accesses to the water, right? For however many, I don't know, miles or whatever, feet. Does anybody know? How many access points are there in the circle?
There's two.
Okay, so this one is a cemented, sort of like a,
One is cemented, the other has a very small shoreline, maybe about 20 feet before it goes into the small bay access area.
so the cemented one is a public access?
According to the deeds, it shows as access deeds are the rights of the owners of the land on Kahana Circle. It does not go into any further detail, Laura.
So everybody in Kahana Circle owns that easement?
Yes.
That doesn't make sense to me,
That's
sorry.
at one time it was actually gated and then city and county came and removed the gate just as a point of reference.
Got it, okay, thanks.
Sounds like that's something we can look into a little bit further. Maybe we can get some help from the council member. All right. Another issue was brought forward before COVID. It was 45202 Halimoku Place. The city and it is city and county property. I had a chance to look through the email threads. The city, first they said, no, it wasn't their property, but then they came out and checked the pins, and it turns out that it is city and county property. The fence is owned by the city and county, and they're the ones that are responsible for replacing the stanchions, or at least strengthening the stanchions. So I just wanted to make sure that this gets onto the minutes. And again, when it's brought up again by the adjacent property owner, that there is some accountability on the city to have that repaired. Is there anybody here that wants to discuss that particular address other than what I've just said? All right. And yes, ma'am, you were stepping up to the microphone and had a community concern. It is your turn.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Marie Samudio. I'm representing Kaneohe Kahalu CERT, and I believe you should all be familiar with what a CERT organization is. It's a community emergency response team that has been active in our community here in Kahalu for over a decade. Bill Sager, if you know old folks, he's the one that started it with you guys, and I pretty much started it over in Kahalu. Anyway, I'm here tonight because KK CERT was involved from the day after the fire at Lahaina over Zoom meetings with an organization called VOAD. VOAD is a national organization for, it stands for Voluntary Organizations Active in Disasters. It is a nationwide organization. And with our grouping, the response to the Lahaina fires or the Maui fires was over 130 organizations from around the country and some places around the world that jumped at the chance to come in and try to help. If you've been following it at all, you know how difficult it's been because you can't just go to Maui like you can cross a state line or a county line and take care of a problem. So it's been a tremendous logistics problem. And my role there has not been to actually do anything for Maui, but I've been learning a tremendous amount through all of this 130 plus organizations that have been meeting up until about 2 weeks ago every day to talk about everything that you could possibly think of. The two that I wanted to bring up to you today is connected to the term that's being bantered around all over the place, and that's resiliency and community preparedness. Well, in reality, and if you're really involved in it, our communities are not prepared at all. Our county is really not prepared to respond to a situation. And I'm not just saying this. This comes from meeting after meeting after meeting over all these years. Just before the fire broke out, I had been given a task from VOAD to investigate points of distribution on Oahu, or hubs, or CPODs, community points of distribution. And I had with other members of KK CERT, Janice Lai, who I believe many of you know, been involved in about a half a dozen points of distribution before and during COVID. And we worked with the DEM and the Hawaii Food Bank and a couple of large organizations that set these things up. The DEM was the big organizer, pulling everybody together. So I went with my new task. I went to the DEM, the Department of Emergency Management, and I told it just what I told you, that I'd been given this task, and could she provide me with information about points of distribution that the DEM has identified as possibilities. There wasn't a list. I could give her a list of where I went. Okay, I know where I had been. I know where Janice had been. I know where a number of other people had been. But I couldn't get a list from the DEM. And needless to say, that was rather distressing. But anyway, the fire broke out, and that task kind of has gotten pushed into the background. Food bank, I also haven't been able to hook up with, because they got involved in their annual fundraiser, and then they were involved in supporting. So I'm coming to the communities. Last night we had a cross-island CERT meeting with CERT groups from all over Oahu. And this was part of the agenda, that we as a community, and this is what I'm coming to you for, we as a community need to look at what areas in our neighborhoods, okay, not all 14 of your districts necessarily, but what areas in your neighborhoods do you see as a section that would be a hub, where if there was some kind of a disaster, and it could be anything, okay, and it could strike anywhere, which is why we want to target everybody's place. Where do you think would be a good hub center for distribution of goods? Generally speaking, they're churches. They're the first target, okay? You have a number of spaces around here. We're talking.
Can I just stop you right
oh,
there?
Sorry.
So your question and your request is for us to get together and give you some locations that might be good distribution hubs?
Yes, and points of distribution. When you do this, please think about in and out
Can,
routes.
can we, we're not just going to think about it on our own in a vacuum. We're going to rely on you and the 130 other entities that you were dealing with. So Dale Carstensen is our, raise your hand, Dale, so she can see who you are. There you go.
Sorry.
He's our Community Engagement Committee Chair. So I'll leave it up to Dale to figure out how to get us together as a board, whether it's going to be a permitted interaction group, or if he's going to get together with you and then come back to the board with a request. And I think that will be the best way to handle it.
Okay.
I don't think we'll do anything here at the board
No, I
meeting.
didn't. No, I was just throwing this out to you, and we've already, the KK CERT has come up with about 20 possible sites. And don't forget the water, too. We might have to bring some stuff in by water. So that's the one big thing.
Awesome.
To the Kahalu Neighborhood Board, did you guys get a 30-page report about fire safety or something from the fire department?
You say 30-page
Yeah.
report? No?
What page? Okay, well, Kahalu did, and it kind of shocked everybody. Oh, I don't know, 30 pages, I'm gonna read this. But anyway, there is a FireWise program it's throughout the country. And we have a pretty active one on Oahu. And I have information for you that I could give to the chair about that. I gave it to the Kahalu people and what do you call it? Your neighborhood board link person. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry. Also has a copy of this, and it's been put on file. It's FireWise Communities. Okay.
Is that it right there? I'd be glad to take that. And if I need to, hand it around to the
The
other board
question
members.
is, do you have a digital format so I can read it with my screen reader since I'm blind?
But
Right.
Has a number of them needing to be addressed. So anyway, and I said this to the Kahulu Neighbor Board, and I'm going to say it to you. I would like you to look up online. I would like you to go to Breezy Point, New York, Superstorm Sandy. Okay, yeah, you know that one? This was a community in New York by the water that was a nice little old knit community. And it was destroyed in a fire during Superstorm Sandy, during the floods of their community. And this community was primarily a home to police and fire, active as well as retired. And we think that because we're windward and it rains, that we're safe. That's not the truth.
So we will take that link under advisement. I'll find and I'll send it out to the rest of the board. Breezy Point, New York, Typhoon Sandy, thank you very much. I don't mean to cut you off, but you only have 3 minutes
Over 3 minutes.
to make your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other community concerns? Yes, please.
Chair and board, my name is Christy Kalohiva. I'm late, so I apologize, but I'm here on behalf of Marine Corps Base Hawaii. Is it appropriate to give a report now, or should I wait until after?
For Marine Corps Base Hawaii? No,
Yes.
go ahead.
Yeah, I have, again, apologize for my tardiness. I forgot you folks start at 6:30. So just quickly wanted to, okay, sorry. Oh, my apologies. So just a quick update, the Marine Corps Base is continuing to support efforts with airlifts of supplies to Maui. And on a quick happy note, with Senator Kahokolole here, he has been implemental in progress with our Nu'upia Pond hui, and we've been able to start one of our very first work days at Nu'upia Pond. So we're excited about that. And if there's any other questions, I'm real brief. Yes.
Yeah, question. I used to work at Marine Corps Base Hawaii, Marine Corps Community Services, and it wasn't at that time, that was in the late 80s, 90s, early 2000s, but I never experienced a government shutdown. If we do have a government shutdown next month, how is the Marine Corps going to be prepared to handle the situation with no funding for paying the military and other areas of the base to maintain it? Contingencies, yeah.
That's above my pay scale. I'll be home for a week.
I have a question that might be easier to answer. When is the cleanup of the Nu'upia ponds and how can we get involved?
Well, we do have, the first one is scheduled for the 7th. We're still coordinating who is going to be invited to that specific one because it's a real small area. However, Kaneohe Marine Corps Base does have open to the public the weed and seed program. They're weed warriors, and that is open October 14th to the community. I can get you more information though about the shutdown.
What do you do for the weed and seed program?
I have yet to go to one, but they have different areas of focus. I know that they're clearing a lot of the mangrove by the H3. That is an area of focus. I'm not sure what their plan is this upcoming one. They've done beach cleanups where they're clearing debris away from the shoreline that faces the Kailua Bay. In the past, I've seen images that they've posted on their website of that. But this particular one coming up, I don't know if they've said specifically what the area is going to be.
Okay, thank you.
Can I email somebody?
You can email me. Any other questions for Marine Corps Base of Hawaii? Anything from outside? Thanks, Christy.
Thank you.
Moving on to elected officials. Anybody from Representative Jill Takudas?
Yes, Chair. Hi, good evening. My name is David Taga. I'm from the office of Representative Tokuda. Very briefly on the update to the neighborhood board. She's been, Representative Tokuda has been very much focused on the wildfires and our friends and family on Maui, who's been so greatly impacted by what's happening. Very much focused on the recovery and making sure that everyone gets the help that they need. She's organized several federal resource fairs to help impacted individuals apply for disaster aid, getting replacement documents, and getting housing and support. And this effort will continue for the long term. And she's very much committed to making sure that the people of Maui get all the resources that they need to help rebuild and recover. Next, military academy nominations. This is for anyone seeking a nomination to West Point, the Naval Academy, Air Force Academy. That deadline is coming up on October 16th, 1/6. So anybody who may potentially be interested in a congressional nomination, we encourage them to apply to our office. And the last quick point is we are having the Congressional App Challenge, APP, that's like for your phone or your computer. This is for middle school and high school students. We encourage any student to apply for that challenge, again, with our office. That deadline is November the 1st. This is to encourage students interested in STEM fields and computer science, and we hope that as many students apply. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone here from Governor Green's office? Or is the governor here? Hearing none, are there any questions for the governor's representative or for Congresswoman Takuda? I see Mr. Sakamoto with your hand.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Hi, David, Donald Sakamoto, Neighborhood Board at Large. Last month's meeting, we missed you folks coming out, but on the August 17th, I raised a question about identity theft. What is Congress going to do about this? It's a nationwide thing, and we have it here too. Second question was the accessibility for persons who are blind or vision impaired, the documents on Title III for businesses who have restaurants, online menus, advertisements of stores. We can't read it with our screen readers. This is very important for us to have equal access like everybody else. It's very frustrating. And then the government shutdown I brought up earlier with Marine Corps Base Hawaii. What is Congress going to do after September 30th if there's nothing going to be resolved? Is there anything we can do? What's the issue right now? Update with that. Thank you.
So on the government shutdown, yeah, a lot of interest on that topic. There is still one more week to go that Congress will still be working to see if that can be avoided. We don't know, honestly, what will happen, and even what the possible impacts will be. That's still unknown of what the possible impacts would be of a shutdown. As soon as we are gathering that information, and as that date gets closer, because we will be providing that kind of update to our constituents, because people will have questions about what type of services will be available. Some things may continue operating, some things may not. Right now, we don't truly know all of the possible impacts, but please be assured we will be getting that information and making sure that constituents are informed on the government shutdown question. You mentioned Title III, Mr. Sakamoto. I assuming that's Title III of the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act. Is that your question?
Yeah, that's correct. In 2010, Department of Justice had clarified for Title II and Title III, but they hadn't really put the guidelines for Title III, which is for businesses to comply with certain reasonable accommodations for accessibility for websites.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you for coming and appreciate any feedback from any of the comments raised today. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Next is Mayor Blangiardi's representative, followed by Councilmember Kia Aina.
So Chair, Andy Kawano here, Director of Budget and Fiscal Services for the record. Today I'd like to highlight some of the mayor's newsletter highlights. I'll put the new newsletter link in the on the share screen. In the newsletter, the mayor shares his message on the devastating wildfires on Maui and information on how the city is helping recovery and what we all can do as citizens to help our friends and families on Maui. There's a new lifeguard tower at Kahe Point Beach Park, Electric Beach. It was installed on August 3rd. And we now expand total towers for water safety to a count of 42 towers around the island. The tower was immediately staffed, and the staff did their first rescue 2 hours after the tower opened. The mayor is also following through on decades-old promise to redevelop Verona Village in Eva. And the city will be turning over the land to developers, Peter Savio and Habitat for Humanity, so they can start redevelopment of the historic village. Lastly, Mary Lewis, the administrator at Blaisdell Arena and Waikiki Shell, announced her retirement after more than 30 years of public service. Mary has worked with her team to engage with local, national, and international clients to provide Hawaii with a wide range of entertainment, athletic, expo, cultural, and educational events. The mayor and the city bids Mary a heartfelt congratulations and warm ahui ho, and a blessed retirement as she goes into the sunset. I'm not going to cover the HPD issue regarding the illegal ban unless it was covered earlier. I did not hear that. So if it wasn't covered, I have some notes on that. With regard to towing costs, Mr. Sakamoto raised concerns last meeting about the all-island automotive towing charges of $900, as it seems like an excessive price. We do agree. The $900 rate under the current contract is supposed to be for difficult off-road tolls where, for instance, there's an accident, car goes off an embankment, is severely damaged, and has to be pulled back on the road, hitched, and taken away. The Customer Services Department of the city is currently conducting an audit of all of the vendors' invoices from the start of the contract to June to assess whether the clients were overcharged or not, and to take action from that point on. That audit is still ongoing. And I'll stop there for questions after Councilmember Kia Aina.
Thank you, Mr. Kawano. Councilmember Kia Aina, you've got the
Sure.
floor.
My name is Jared McCartney. I'm with Councilmember Kia Aina's office. Councilmember is off island, so she's not able to attend tonight, but she wanted me to start off by thanking Senator Keokalole for taking the lead on hosting the town hall last night on little fire ants. And also wanted to thank all those from the community who attended. If you are unable to attend and are interested in this issue, there will be another little fire ant workshop at Lanikai Park Pavilion on October 10th from 6 to 7 p.m. I would tune in a little late, but if there was a discussion about Kaneohe Circle, our office submitted a request to the administration to get some clarification with regard to whether or not it's a public or private access. I can not confirm for 100%, but I'm pretty sure the city wouldn't put up a private sign for the residents, so we can pretty much, see with certainty that the city probably did not put up those signs. But once we hear back on this request with regard to private versus public, we will let the board know. And I'm glad to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there questions for thank you, the mayor's rep and for Councilmember Kia Aina's rep? And before those questions go, I don't know if you noticed on the resident community concerns, 45202 Halimoku Place, what we really need is just a crew to go out and re-cement the stanchions of the city-owned fence.
Got it.
It's already been determined that it's on city property. They started the process before COVID, and then when COVID happened, it just fell off. So if they could just regenerate that, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, I saw Mr. Sakamoto's and I saw Laura's hand. Laura, you go first, please.
Okay. What's the status of the parking lot, Kaneohe District Park, the skate park side and tennis courts? Hello?
Yes, Laura, I'm gonna have to check with Parks and Recreation on that and send a report into Chair. And I can report that at the next meeting.
And any information you get between now and the next meeting, Andy, you can just send to me. I can forward to the board.
Okay, great. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Sakamoto.
Okay, Sakamoto, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Andy and Jaren, for being here, McCartney. My question is, this is a question for both administration and council. This homeless situation, equal access on the sidewalks around Honolulu here. We have people that block the sidewalks. The ADA law was signed in July 26, 1990. It says we have 36 inches. I mentioned this to the mayor, to managing director Mike Formby. I said, if you need me as a person to represent the ADA for the person with a disability, to express my concerns to the ACLU, I would be glad to talk to them because we need 36 inches. That's a law. I don't know why I know homeless is not a crime, but when they block the way and you have people like myself have to walk on the street, it's very dangerous. This needs to be addressed by both the city as well as the state. This is an issue because it's happening, it's getting worse. Concerning about the Rikamata show yesterday, I don't know if Andy, you listened to it, but I did. It was called Ask the Mayor Questions, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Rikamata did not have the mayor questions. There was a gentleman who said he bumped into these people that just moved there. And he said, oh, where did you come from? Oh, we just came off the border, the southern border. What country did you come from by chance? He said, Honduras. How did you get here? He said, the federal government paid his way to come over here with his family. Because they asked him, where did you want to go in the United States? Do you have family? And he said he had family in Honolulu. This is a big issue. This is going all around. So I'm concerned about if they're going to get services and how's that going to pick our people here that need the services that are residents and whatnot. And then concerning about the situation with the bill, this is for Jaren, bill or in the administration. This is Bill 2023, RPZ. I listened to the hearing at the transportation meeting a week ago. I'm very baffled of how much the fees are going to be and whatnot. So where's this money going to go once they collect it? And is this going to be a case by case by director of transportation to implement? or does the community have a say of if they want it or not? Thank you.
Okay, I got three questions, Mr. Sakamoto. First one, with regard to equal access on sidewalks, with regard to ADA law and the 36 inches rule. I would suggest that you definitely send in your concern to the ACLU office here locally. I think that can be very helpful for us to help to address a situation when there is not thoroughway for our handicapped residents. I think that would be very helpful. So I would suggest that on that issue. With regard to the Rick Hamada show and the Honduras non-resident being paid by the federal government to you know find livelihood here on Oahu. I think that's a federal government issue. You know, we're not involved in terms of that kind of transportation to Oahu. I will note it and mention it to our administration so they're aware of it. But I really think that has to be addressed at the federal level. RPZ law, Bill 20. You're right. The fees will be retained by the city, but there's going to be a cost to control selected parking areas to minimize the crowding of neighborhoods with cars from people that live outside of neighborhoods. That bill is interestingly moving along. But I know that it's going to go through committee one more time. And I hear your concerns, and I suggest that when it goes through committee next time, I respectfully request that you testify and share your concerns with regard to the bill at the time of the committee hearing. The bill has gone through a number of revisions, and I do believe that it should reflect what the people want, and we look forward to your comments. So thank you.
Yeah, just to add to that, Mr. Sakamoto, like Director Kawano said, the bill has gone through many iterations and most likely will have more amendments moving forward. And the fees, like you said, will go towards administering the program. And I think council members' concerns is that she doesn't want, other taxpayers to have to pay for other people's parking. That's something that she's talked about. And so, yeah, like Director Kawano said, there's still some kinks to be worked out with Bill 20.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions for the mayor's representative and council member? Thank you very much. Look forward to see you with your responses and next month. Next up is Senator Kaneohe Kalole, and you're present. Thank you.
Aloha, Chair and members of the board and members of the community. Nice to be with you folks in person. I think this is the first time in a long time. Congratulations to the new members that I had not met in person before. Things. One is a follow-up to the town hall that was held here yesterday on little fire ants. I think I spoke about it briefly last month, and if I didn't, little fire ants are among the world's worst invasive species. We have at least 5 major infestations in the Kaneohe community. They inundated the East Hawaii Island community in 1999 and have spread all over that island and are beyond the point of eradication on the Big Island. There was a 170-acre infestation on the island of Maui that was eradicated. There was an infestation in Mililani about 5 years ago that was eradicated. So the technology and the treatment protocols to take care of the pest does exist. We can do it, but we really need the community to help us identify the areas of infestation so that we can create containment areas to effectively treat. It's not like the red ants that exist in Kaneohe that people are used to. There's a video of the town hall on Olelo that people can watch. My office manager, Jules, who many of you know, is from Puna and told a really terrifying story of what it's like. The ants live, they're the only known ant species that populate trees. And so they fall from the trees and can get in your clothes. The bites are painful and they persist. They linger for days, which is different from the red ants that we have in Kaneohe now. And they also they're very aggressive and they colonize in sort of like a nation. There are dozens of queens that sort of all work together. And so if you think you got the colony and you think you got one queen, you might only have one colony of the nation, and there might be other colonies persisting in your neighborhood. The infestation sites that we know of right now, we had a big map and we were trying to get the community members, over 80 came to identify, and some brought samples. There was an identification of a member of the community who brought in a sample. They're about 20% of the size of the normal carpenter ant. Puahala Village has a site. Kokokahi has a site. Up Haiku Road near the townhouses, and down on the other side, down in the neighborhood, along Kahikili Highway, there are 2 sites. And there are multiple sites between Kapunahala and the Keapuka neighborhood, which once we got the maps yesterday, we realized are most likely an infestation along the stream, starting somewhere at the base below the reservoir at Ho'omalahia that runs sort of maybe to the bridge right here by the library. All of the neighborhoods along that stream basin are likely in the area, and we really need to get the word out to those neighborhoods to start testing. It's very simple to test. Peanut butter on a chopstick, lay it on in your yard for an hour. 643 pest if you think you got them. So if you represent those communities or you're in those neighborhoods, I'd encourage you to reach out to any of the legislators. Every legislator from Kaneohe was at the town hall. We're really trying to get a handle on this. We have personnel with the state who can come in and treat for free, who can assist with surveying, but we need to get the neighbors of all of these infestation areas at least notified and involved. And it's been a real struggle to explain the difference between the regular fire ants that everybody's used to and these ones, and why these ones are really bad. So that's the fire ant situation. The second thing is next Saturday, September 30th, from 9 to 2 p.m., we have adopted the Maui supply warehouse in Kaka'ako that was stood up after we were flooded with donations in the aftermath of the Maui fire. It's got things like bedding, clothes, a lot of toiletries, toothpaste, things that are not critically necessary right now. There was an inundation of supplies that hit the harbor in Maui right after the fire, and so they have struggled to get everything out of those containers and get them organized so they can be distributed appropriately to the community. So a lot of the excess items are being held on Oahu because we know they're going to need them later, but they don't necessarily need to be swamping the harbor in Kahului now. So a maximum of 50 volunteers. We're trying to focus just on sort of our community going and helping for one day and keeping everybody engaged, because this is going to take multiple years for that community to recover. Please feel free to reach out to our office. We'll be putting out information through the newsletter on how to volunteer. We still could use more people to help out. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Next is Senator Ava.
Aloha, Chair and board members. Samantha DeCourt here for Senator Awa. First, Senator Awa would like to thank community members for attending the Little Fire Ants Town Hall last night. Thank you, Senator Keoho Kolole, for giving a very detailed report of what last night was. We did have close to 100 attendees and are continuing to prioritize eradicating invasive species, plants, and trees, meanwhile planting natives. We would like to thank Board Member Holly for inviting our office to the Haiku Valley PIG meeting on Tuesday. We will work close with the community, HPD, and the city to mitigate trespassing. It's going to be a brief report tonight. And finally, Senator Awat is preparing for the 2024 legislative session. So if the board has any bill ideas or resolutions that you would like us to introduce, please contact our office, and I will put my contact information in the chat. With that, I am available for any questions, comments.
Awesome. So you'll get questions as we get through our representatives, and then we do a big free for all. So next up is Representative Kitagawa.
Hey everyone, good evening. Thanks to everyone who presented already. So just wanted to add one or a couple of things to the Little Fire Ant Town Hall that we had last night. Another road that has an infestation is Lilipuna on the opposite side, closer to the Safeway side. That area does have an infestation as well. So if people live in that area, they may want to consider testing. You can go to the website stoptheant.org, and I'll put that in the chat. And in there, you'll find more information on how you can test, how you can request a testing kit, and more information on that. And that's really something that we want the entire community to get involved with, as Senator Keohai mentioned, because we need to stop it before it spreads beyond what we can control. So we want you to share with your neighbors, share with those in the community about the need to test for little fire ants. Also want to highlight, a couple of weeks ago, Rep. Matayoshi and I hosted our 4th annual drive-through flu shot clinic in partnership with Times Pharmacy and Windward Community College. We had over 150 people from Keiki to Kupuna who came to get their flu shot in an easy and accessible way. So we encourage you to get prepared for the flu season. It is coming up upon us. And, you know, if you usually get your flu shot, we encourage you to do that. You can go to your doctor's office or any pharmacy to get that in an easy way. Also want to highlight something that is outside of Kaneohe, but I know sometimes people are interested. Myself, Senator Awa, Councilmember Matt Wire, and Rep. Sean Quinlan, who represents more up north, are doing a town hall in Ka'ava next week, Friday, with DOT and DLNR regarding climate change and the road conditions out there in Ka'ava. And so everyone invited, if you are interested in that issue. It's going to be at Swansea Beach Park next Friday, September 29th from 5:30 to 7:30. So just wanted to highlight that in case people are interested in that issue. And I can take questions after everyone else is done. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Rep. Kitagawa. Next is Representative Matayoshi.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I just wanted to tag on. We've all got little fire ants on our mind. One of the things that Senator Keohai didn't mention was the treatment of the little fire ants. It's free, which is I think a really big draw. So if you do detect little fire ants at your house, the state will come by and do the treatment for free. And it's not like they're spraying toxic poison everywhere. It's actually bait, and the bait. There are 2 kinds of bait. There's one that's totally non-toxic, that's more like ant birth control. And there's another one with a little bit of pesticide in it, but it's so little that a dog would have to eat 30 pounds of it to get sick, a fairly small dog. So the toxicity is very, very low. It doesn't need to be high because these ants are so small. And the bait, they carry it back to their nest and share it with everyone, including the queen. And that's the best way. Don't spray the ants with Raid. They just get replaced by the queen almost immediately. The other weird thing I thought about these fire ants is Senator Keohai said you could put peanut butter on a stick. You can also put mayonnaise on a stick because they're very, these ants really like lipids. They like oils. So mayonnaise is actually a really good attractant for them too. Really pretty terrible situation that we have in Kaneohe now, but it can get much, much worse. I know one of the bigger infestations in the stream is kind of right behind my house. So please test your house. If you see tiny ants in your house, it's worth it to just do the test, mail it in. The postage is free on the test kit, so you really have to pay nothing. And if they detect it again, they will come to your house to treat it for free over the course of about a year. And alerting your neighbors too is kind of the best way to go. So with everyone's help, I think we can get this thing under control, and we can keep having our kids play in parks and keep playing soccer in the fields. And that's what we really want. Other than that, we had the flu shot clinic, which Rep. Kitagawa talked about, which is great. And I'm open for any questions.
Thank you very much. Next up, Representative Hussey Burdick, who is present. Thank you.
Figure out how to adjust this gear. It is great to be back in person again. Please give me a moment while my wonderful office manager Nadia shares screen on my presentation. And before I get to the presentation, I just want to answer Mr. Sakamoto's question from last time. He had asked if all of, honestly, I forget if he had asked if all of the schools in my district have AC or if it's all of the schools on the windward side have AC. The answer to both of those questions is a resounding no. So I'll be working with all of the principals, at least in my district, to see what we can do about that this upcoming legislative session. I was surprised to hear that because we've been fighting this cooling our schools issue for so many years. It's not quite as bad as it is on the west side, where they really don't have the trade winds like we do. They don't have the rain like we do. It's still pretty bad though, and it is a problem that needs to be fixed. So thank you so much for bringing that to light. Okay, so I've also got little fire ants on the mind. Next slide, please. This is the map that Senator Keokolole was talking about. He described so well. There's outbreaks all over Kaneohe, Kailua, Maunawili, Ahuimanu, and basically this is only the infestations that we know about. These are the people who have gone and tested their homes and found out that they do indeed have little fire ants. So I would venture to guess that we probably have at least twice as many of these, if not 10 times as many. So I did bring some test kits. They're up at the front here. And even if you're just watching at home, if you don't have a test kit, it's super easy. Just put a little thin spread of peanut butter and mayonnaise on a popsicle stick, leave it out for an hour in a shady spot. If you have any ants at all that you're not sure are little fire ants, put it in a Ziploc bag and visit stoptheant.org. Next. I was going to post the video of last night's invasive species town hall. It was really great. It was actually better than this one that we did back in August. It's not quite available on Olelo yet. I will be publishing that information as soon as it becomes available. But if you missed last night's one and the August one, you can catch up on the video for the August one here. Next. And here's just the website, stoptheant.org. We got to take a little site visit to the Hawaii Ant Lab. They're really doing all they can to get rid of these ants. But they need you. They need you to test your own home and talk to your neighbors. And that's all I'm going to say about ants. I'm sure you guys are sick of hearing about them by now. Next. So I want to switch gears a little bit to the Maui wildfires. The state has instituted the Hawaii Fire Relief Housing Program. And basically what it is the state will pay you rent to open your home, open an Ohana unit, a room in your home to house one of the Maui evacuees. Right now, they're all moved out of their temporary emergency shelters. All the Red Cross shelters are closed, but they are currently being housed in hotels, which is, as you can imagine, not the best situation for the next year or so while we rebuild. So sign up at dbed.hawaii.gov/HHFDC or call the phone number here, 808-587-0469, if you can open a room in your home. Next. The House has implemented some wildfire working groups to study the different areas of the wildfire response and to make recommendations for future legislation. I have signed up for the Wildfire Prevention Working Group. I think that's the one with the biggest statewide impact and the biggest impact possibly on our community. So we have several meetings, almost one a week. And we've got a draft report coming out on November 1st, final report on December 15th. And of course, I'll be sharing that information with you as it becomes available. Next. And as I mentioned before, I'm on the Majority Policy Committee. So if you have any ideas for bills that are not wildfire related, well, you can come to me with either wildfire related bills or not, and I'd be happy to put those forward for you. That's all. Thank you very much.
Are there any questions for the senators or the representatives? I see you. Just wait a second, Donald. Anybody from online? I'm just trying to do a little gatekeeping is all. Okay, Mr. Sakamoto.
Okay, thank you, Chair. This concern is, question is for Jared. Jared, I called Jules, your manager, this morning or afternoon, I forgot. But I recommend her to inform me about a Senate bill, SB 2144. This was passed by the both House and Senate in the legislature in 2022, signed by Governor Ige, is to have websites as well as software and everything that the state buys as agencies to make sure it's acceptable for persons with disabilities such as myself, who is blind. The agency that was tasked to take the lead on this was Information Technology. It's in their boat, but I haven't heard anything from them of what they're going to do or when they're going to implement this. If you can check in that for me, and if you did, if you can relay that or not, just send it to me in the email, what you can find. Concerning what I said about homeless people, can't the legislature do an enactment of a bill to have 36 inches on sidewalks so it's island-wide so that we can have access ways so it's safe and equal access for all people, not only the disabled or kapuna, but everybody. It's not easy to walk on the street or roadways when it's busy. Then concerning Hawaiian Electric. I heard on the news that the Hawaiian Electric, with the Maui crisis and whatnot, might have to go bankrupt. They hired somebody to litigate how they can avoid being bankrupt or in the process. What is the state going to do if they do go bankrupt, and what is going to happen to our electricity? Is it going to be a merger of some other company, and how is that going to impact us with our service as well as our rates that they charge? And the last thing, the government shutdown, I mentioned this. If it does happen after September 30th, it's a long periodic shutdown by the U.S. Congress. How is the state is going to be impacted with the services that they get federal money from the feds? That's my questions. Thank you.
Are all four of those questions for me?
I think you'll Senator. Well, you know,
I'll do it. I'll do them.
And then,
Clarifying.
I forgot one more for Scott Matioshi. Sorry about that. When
No, let's just stop right there. Go ahead and answer the questions before you forget what they are.
Okay. The federal shutdown, really good question. I do not know. I was not elected when we had the last federal government shutdown. I was working in an interagency working group, and the federal partners stopped working. It was very disruptive. I am concerned about it. So much of what you see on the news about what happens in Washington, D.C. is sort of brinkmanship based. So I don't think there will be very clear answers all the way up until it happens or it doesn't happen. We can go and ask those questions. It is very concerning when you think about what's happening on Maui, because we are still in the crisis phase, and the vast majority of work and the vast majority of the resources being pushed into that community to do that work, whether it's housing for the victims or the cleanup that's going on in Lahaina, which right now is toxic chemical remediation, all federal work. Those are federal personnel, federal monies being spent. So we can, I mean, we should all be paying attention to it. So your questions are very valid. Can I remember any of the other? 2144, I need to know the year. I'm sure Jules probably got it from you, and then we can look into that and follow up. I can't remember off the top of my head. So we can go run that down for you. Second one was homelessness. You know, Andy actually is, I agree with his point on that. We are prohibited by court order that was initiated by the ACLU from sweeping homeless from the sidewalks with giving them appropriate notice and storing their personal property. We cannot blame the ACLU for that. They sued on behalf of clients alleging that it was a civil rights violation, and they prevailed. Essentially, the government cannot seize personal property without due process. That's the basis of the litigation, from my recollection of it. So, seeing as how the ACLU was one of the main advocates for the passage of the ADA, that is sort of getting the information from the horse's mouth. We can go and ask about that, but I can tell you that the sweeps on public property are the guidelines in how those are conducted are very rigid as a result of those cases. And so there are limitations that are really specific by law on how we can treat individuals who are on the street. A good example is with the mental health, the mandatory hospitalizations, which I've worked a lot with Ms. Castle on. There's a very strict 48-hour competency test that needs to be done by a psychiatrist when a person is brought in on a mandatory hold. If that process is not followed to the letter of the law, we can and have been sued. So it gets tricky. I don't want to make excuses. We can look into it and get you like a more specific answer. And then what's the third question?
I think you answered everything I talked about, but can I just say that, access way, I just want 36 inches, 3 feet. I don't care if they're there, but just give me 36 inches so we can walk safely on the sidewalk. Can't that be done as the ADA? I don't care about the ACLU, what they're doing, but they can take care of the homeless, but give me 36 inches, 3 feet.
So the answer should never be no to that. I don't think it most likely cannot be no from the state government. How you execute that on state or county property, it's tricky because of the way that the sweeps have been litigated over the years. I know that's not the answer that you want to hear. It's not the one I want to say. So that's the one I have for right now, and we can definitely take that.
Well, I'll work with you because I read LA Times and the newspapers, and they're doing something in California about
Right,
this.
and New York as well, and both of them are federal civil rights lawsuits are inevitable in both of those cases because we are trying to keep up on that.
And then I'm waiting patiently for this legislative town hall meeting, so hopefully we can get one soon. Yeah, with you folks.
I think we are trying to work on one, but you can ask us as many questions as you want right here. We're here every month. So thank you.
Thank you, Jared.
Thank you. Any other questions for our elected representatives and senators? Hearing none. Thank you very much. Next are community organizations. Windward Community College on their 50th anniversary. Anybody here from Windward? All right. Congratulations on your 50th. Moving into board business, we have approval of regular meeting minutes for August 2023. And Mr. Sakamoto had submitted some changes to that, or some recommended changes to that. But before we introduce those, let's have a discussion about how we want to handle our minutes. Presently, and it's been a change from what we've done in the past. In the past, the minutes were pretty in-depth and would go a number of pages. And now that we're having our meetings recorded, it's just people that talk. The substance of what they're saying is not nearly as in-depth as the timestamp that's on the minutes. So if somebody wanted to listen to something or view something, they could on the timestamp. I'll get you in a second, Mr. Sakamoto. Just let me finish where we are, where we're going, where we might be going. Actually, where we might be going is going to be up to you all. So that's the change that I see on the minutes, is that information has more to do with the timestamp rather than what was specifically said by every person at the meeting all the time. So, Mr. Sakamoto.
Yes, thank you, Chair. The reason why I did the minutes like this because there were some things that were missed out, especially from board members in the community that were concerns about complete streets. So I put that in also. But you have to realize, not everybody has computer technology. There's people that can't afford it and use it. They're not computer knowledgeable, that generation. Nobody has a smartphone where they can look it up. If they have internet service or whatever. Television, as the rates go up, like the PUC keeps charging cable rates and everything, people can't afford to pay the cable and watch TV. So to watch an Olelo, so if somebody want to ask something from the nearer board in writing, and we don't have it in the written minutes, and they don't have technology to get it, the ways how, is we responsible, our secretary, to write up the minutes, or the neighborhood board to accommodate those people who requested? So that was my concern, was we have the minutes reflect what was said from the community, from the board members. It went from 4 pages to 6 pages, that much. I've been on the other boards, Oahu Metropolitan Planning Organization, Statewide Independent Living Council, you name it. I've been Handle Rate Commission, I testify. Their minutes always this. They're not that long, but they're precise to give the details that were discussed so people can refer back to it. This was also discussed at the June 1st. I think it was at the Waipahu Filipino Civic Center when it took the oath of office. Another neighborhood board member recommended, stated, and Spencer was there too, as well as some other, Joel Lamb, another member of the board from Kaneohe, that it should reflect what was said in the minutes. So when they refer back to it, if it's repeated, they can go back and find that minutes and then later on listen to the recording. That's why I did it this way.
What are the chances of somebody who gives a long explanation of their concern? How is that supposed to be captured accurately in a written set of minutes? That means we have to have a secretary or somebody who's actually taking notes in depth to be able to highlight everything that you want to hear on the minutes, whether when we can just go online, or we could ask somebody to go online, or we can go to a public library and pull it up online for free computer use with the help of somebody who works at the library or somebody to listen to something of concern. But what I'm trying to prevent is having a set of minutes that we have to fight over every month that is so long, and one thing doesn't get said in the written minutes that's easily understood in the recorded minutes. And what I mean by recorded is video recorded or audio recorded.
So if somebody requests the minutes in writing, certain section, then they can request it to the neighborhood board, Spencer? If somebody wanted to request a written part of the meeting, of the neighborhood board meeting, then they request it from your office and you folks can have it prepared? Okay, and then you would have it all typed out and accessible for the person, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, then in this regards, I say for the minutes right now, for this minutes for August 17th, I would just put down what the persons were saying, like, Elena and Laura, myself, Dale Carstensen, yourself, Chair, just to say what you had to say, but nothing response back from the people that were responding back, the representatives. Is that okay?
Are you saying that my verbal comments need to be reflected in the minutes verbatim?
Well, if there was a question to a representative, that should be just put in the minutes, right? So they can refer back to the video.
Well, if the representative is here.
Because Laura had a question for Jill Takuda. I had a question at that time, but they weren't here. But it wasn't reflected in the minutes.
Yeah, so in that case, it would be incumbent upon the person who the question was asked, if they weren't here, to go back to the recorded minutes to see if anything was there. You're asking if they weren't here, that it should be reflected in the written minutes. So when they see the minutes for the next meeting, they can possibly answer the question.
Yes.
Okay. discuss? Is it possible?
Yeah, so you're doing a great job by providing us your addition to the minutes. And I think if you want to get questions, comments, and concerns into the minutes, then you'll just have to continue doing what you're doing. And the board can adopt the expanded version of the minutes.
Another concern was Rene SPL on
Okay,
completion.
well, hold on a second. Let's put this one piece to rest so we don't have lots of branches of the tree hanging out there. What Spencer is mentioning that if we're going to still get our regular set of minutes that's forwarded to me, which I forward to you, and if there's something that, just like we're going to do tonight, if there's something that you see in there that, for example, Representative Takuda wasn't here, you can ask to have that placed in the minutes, the specific question that was asked. I'm not sure if it's reasonable to ask every question of every representative, especially if they're here. So it'll be incumbent on the board member to actually make that recommendation into the minutes. So what you're doing is good. We'll continue doing that. The other thing that I thought I heard was that if somebody requested a transcription of the recorded minutes, that's available.
Verbatim, like every word that was said? Or,
Yes.
We don't currently do it. Not that I'm aware of, but I'm sure we could be able to provide like a screen, like play the meeting for them, or it just depends, like case by case basis. But if someone were to reach out to our office, we do everything we could to help get their questions answered. You know,
Is it possible to play with AI in this regard by putting the recording into an artificial intelligence platform and asking the artificial intelligence platform to provide a transcription of what was said?
we have looked into that. Not something we're currently doing, but it was talked about. And if you wanted to reach out and suggest it, maybe we could look into it some more.
Okay, I'm suggesting it now, and I'll be glad to reach out.
To Lloyd, or yeah, I can pass the word along.
Thank you.
Sure, that's an excellent idea. AI is talked about, and we're in the 21st century, so we should look into that. Concerning the complete streets that we have from Rene SPL, I did have contact with her, and Cecil here had concerns, so she didn't know about the Lilapuna. She kind of forgot it, so it's very important that we have the questions asked and then can be referred back. But I yield back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't know I had time. Thank you for yielding. Any other discussion on the way we rotate our minutes around to board members for them to look at? The idea was you get a copy of the minutes that I forward to you. If you see something that's missing, you don't just reply back to me or just the secretary. You reply to all of what the missing item is, so every board member has the opportunity to see what it is. And then when it gets brought up at this meeting, you've already seen it. You have an understanding, and if you want to discuss it in this forum, then that would be the place to do it. So we'll continue working in that regard. We've taken some of the other things, Mr. Sakamoto's concerns. I think we've got those squared away. So now we go on to the approval. Hold on just a second. Did anybody have any other comments about the minutes?
So the minutes are sent to the full board via the copy email system. I noticed on the NCO website that a lot of us fellow board members do not have our email address listed. So if people in our neighborhood wanted to reach us, they wouldn't be able to. It's just your name and no address. So if you haven't submitted your email address, at the very least to the NCO, please do so to Spencer, so that we've been elected. We don't get paid, but we've still been elected. So let's let people be able to reach out to us. Please send your email address. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments about the minutes? If none, let's go ahead and.
I have a question. So we're going to be approving the revised version, or
I'm sorry?
Are we approving the revised version tonight?
We're coming to that right next. As long as there's no other discussion, then the next order of business is to approve the minutes for the regular meeting minutes. I think because there were so many changes to the minutes, and I'm not sure if everybody has seen them, Mr. Sakamoto, you want to go over the changes to the minutes that you submitted? It's been moved to accept the minutes as submitted by Mr. Sakamoto. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Hearing none, those minutes are approved. Thank you. Next, committee assignments. And Neil Whitehall sent me an email a month or so ago, maybe more, asking about what our committees actually do. Not tonight. And that'll answer your question, Neil, about what those committees are. And finally is board recruitment. I mentioned it up front that we have a 17-member board with only we have 5 openings, which means that if a couple people abstain from a vote or vote negatively, we won't be able to operate. Or, in another case scenario, if a couple of people are absent, we won't be able to conduct any business at all. So if you know folks in those sub-districts, and if we have to do a walkabout, perhaps, and just introduce ourselves as board members and see if folks are interested in joining the board, that might be something we have to do as well. But right off of the top of my head, the areas that we're looking for folks are the Windward Mall area, Puahala, Kapunahala, Pi'ikoiloa, and it extends out to HPU, but there's no houses, maybe one house over there. And Mikiola, Makai. Those are the 5 sub-districts where we need folks. Donald.
Yes, Chair, a good way of getting outreach to the community. We tried to get a booth at Winter Mall for farmers market, but that would be a good way to express our neighborhood board and to tell people where the openings are so they can apply. That's a good idea to try if we can, but we get stonewalled. Yeah.
Is it possible, Spencer, that an at-large board member could assume the board position that's vacant in the district, the sub-district where they are, and then open up that at-large position?
Yes, I don't see why not.
Okay. Another way to, I know Patty was interested in coming back to the board, but there was no vacancy in her area. Okay, good. Any board committee reports or assignments? Mr. Sakamoto?
Yes, thank you. I sit on the Transportation Committee for the board here. Just want to give you an update. At our last meeting for neighborhood board, August 17, I think, yeah. We had Renee Espial. So I've been emailing Renee Espial from Complete Streets and been following up her about the Little Puna crossing walk by Castle Professional and Aloha gas station, Kamehameha Highway, that intersection. She's already told me that she has put a work order with Department of Facility Maintenance. Hopefully they can fix that crosswalk with the potholes and resurface it with lines and everything. And then she also said, she thanked me for my concerns about sidewalks on the Mauka side, no, Mauka side from Windward Toyota all the way to Paleka Road by the fire department to have them all universal with concrete instead of partially of this and partially of that. So it's all universal and nice and smooth and easy access for everybody. And then also the old Fresh Catch restaurant. It's a different business now, but we had a constituent that was blind. She lives in Kaneohe. And when she used to walk that area, the sidewalk was asphalt and it was uneven for the meters. And it was dangerous for persons with wheelchairs and scooters. Luckily, Lori Kaikina, at that time in 2019, she was a mayor representative for Kirk Codwell. She took that problem and had them resurface the sidewalk with asphalt. And I mentioned to Renee that I believe Lori Kaikina said when a complete street is implemented, that should be concrete. So hopefully Renee said they want to take a look at that from complete streets. And of course, the striping. Our roads don't have the proper striping for our drivers. So she is looking at some kind of other material for the existing road, she said. And then hopefully we can get our complete streets up to par in 2024 when the bid goes out and repaving. It's definitely needed. And I did attend the transportation meeting for Oahu Metropolitan Planning Organization with our Vice Chair, Adria Lamb. He's also the Vice Chair of the committee. We met on.
I'm gonna go ahead and let Vice Chair do
Yeah.
that brief, okay?
Okay, if he's there, yeah, that'll be perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. Vice Chair.
All right, thanks, Chair. I did attend the Oahu Metropolitan Planning Organization for this month, and fortunately, I was the chair for that time, and I took the opportunity to go down to the office and talk to the staff there. So it was a good briefing about bike trails, but they also relayed to me while I was there that they're there to access federal funds for our transportation here on Oahu, and I would follow that up with a discussion. I think you've seen the emails from Bernie SBI about what kind of funding do we have for trails that are not competing with roadways, and there are federal funds out there, not just from the Department of Transportation, but also National Park Service and other things like that in the federal budget. I would just I was going to bring this up with the legislators before, but want to ask, because this is the kind of question I had about our waterways, our streams here. Is I always get the answer, it's just too hard to manage our streams because there's so many owners. You got different agencies involved with that. But I'd ask the same question of our legislators that why can't we have something locally that does that management? Because we put our businesses through the same ringers. They have to coordinate through so many agencies, get so many permissions to get something done. But this is locally, if we want to do something with our streams, how can we not do that same kind of coordination and set that up for our local community? So, and talk to the OMPO. This is a little beyond the OMPO report, but there are federal funds. They're looking for places to put those funds. Let's try to get to that.
Thank you. Cecil, did you have a report to make? Nope.
A slightly different subject, Mr. Chairman. For the Senator Jarrett, asked him if those ants that are so bad respond to taro.
Yeah, please.
I don't know. I'm not sure. The recommendation that came from the Hawaii Ant Lab yesterday, which are the experts on this species, is not to treat if you have a little fire ant infestation, not to treat it by yourself. And the reason is because in a 1 acre property, you can have dozens, if not hundreds of queens. They're very dense because of how small they are. You can get up to 80 million individual ants per acre. So if we have individual homeowners just spraying Raid all over their kitchen or in their yard, there's no confirmation that that's actually going to knock out the population on their property. it's much more effective in the areas that have had success to test, send the test results into the Hawaii Ant Lab, and then start coordinating with neighbors so that you can identify a contained area and they can use the recommended treatment protocol so you can knock the whole infestation out in however far they are around your property.
I don't know how familiar you are with the use of taro, but taro is a type of poison that the ants eat and take it back to their colony and share it with their friends. And the first thing you know, everybody there is dead because they shared all this, stuff with them. It was very effective.
Yeah, I use taro like in my Bokene tree. And so again, the problem is that if you just treat at your house, then no one else will know whether you got them all, neighbor has them.
Okay.
And then sometimes people will treat and they think they got it, and then 2 years later, there's something getting bit again. We don't know where the rest of the colony has moved.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
While you're there, does anyone know if Ho'omalohia is doing a LFA screening? That's a big property.
No. So we're going to call them. That's a really good point. Thank you.
Thank you. Update on Haiku Stairs?
Yeah, update on the permitted interaction group in Haiku Valley. Canvassing is continuing. A group of dedicated neighbors has been going around asking other neighbors about managed access and about solutions to trespassing in the valley. I don't have the numbers with me on hand, but board member Lamb has been canvassing and perhaps he can give an update.
Yeah, I've been doing some canvassing. I think it's been a very positive experience just to get to know neighbors around the area and get their feedback. And I think in general, I guess the biggest question I have is they don't know what managed access is or what that means. And so some teams seem to think that managed access means people can still come through the neighborhood to go up to the stairs. I think that's one of those misconceptions. And I think for myself, I'm in agreement with them. We don't want hikers going into their neighborhood. There needs to be a managed access for a designated route. And most people agree that if that could be done, that is a viable solution that they can accept. So these are my personal encounters. I think my encounters they seem to be more positive. They aren't as the same as the numbers that the PIG community as a whole has put out there. But from my experience, it's 9-1. I mean, there's positive support for access to the stairs. We did encounter a neighbor who was very upset about it, and we did spend a lot of time talking to that family and going through the issues. And their perspective is the same as mine. Get the hikers out of that neighborhood. Thanks.
Any other attended meeting reports? Okay. There's going to be some changes to the minutes on the board committees. HPD liaison, it was listed as vacant, but it's Karstensen and Sakamoto. And it was nice to hear from the major that he welcomes any get together soon. And I think I'd like to schedule something with him, because what's really important is when somebody here at the board brings up an issue and then they bring person A, and then next month person B comes with no recollection or understanding of what was asked about person A, which goes to Mr. Sakamoto's discussion about the minutes.
Chair, just for your edification, the captain was spoken to regarding the question about the area of the staircase and that, and he had relayed one piece of information that they were not going to proceed in doing checks of violation, et cetera. And I think we heard that from Major. Please understand the Major just came back into our area about a week and a half ago. So I'm sure he's getting up to speed as well.
Yeah, my only point was that when a board member brings something up, that's not forgotten the next month. When somebody says, hey, I'll be glad to get back to you, and then we don't hear anything. And Mr. Sakamoto does a good job of writing things down and reminding people, we brought this up last month, do you have a report? Okay. I think that covers all of the board meetings. It's not on the minutes once again about our Kaneohe Christmas parade. what was our discussion? And I came on to the call, the last meeting towards the end. Did we vote to approve it?
Chair, I think it's in the minutes that's approved, but I think the issue that we had was that it wasn't on the agenda beforehand. But I think from
still-
looking at it, we had talked about it in a previous meeting. So if it works, that we had it on the table before and brought it back as an item, does that work as the board giving approval? The whole point of the having it in the minutes is that the city wants to see when they go get the permit that there's something in the minutes that says the board approved.
Okay, you're right. It's there at 1 hour and 58. Perfect.
So thank you, Chair, for bringing that back up.
Yeah. Want to make sure we didn't drop sync on that. Next regular board meeting will be at 6:30 here, October 19th. And I'm still getting used to this. Thanks for everybody coming. Thanks for all of you all coming in person. It's great to see everybody face to face. Don't forget that we have December meeting is a potluck meeting. We'll come in and we'll ask the fire department to say hey and the police department to say hey, and then we eat and talk story. So, keep your wits about you for our December meeting. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.